Hello and welcome to the Career Center at UC Berkeley. This is a three-part video series in which we are helping to prepare college-level job seekers to evaluate and negotiate job offers with confidence. This is video 3 of the series in which we'll be covering negotiation guidelines and examples. In videos 1 and 2 of this series, we covered how to evaluate a job offer and how to prepare to negotiate if you decide that that's necessary. Now let's look at some basic principles of the actual negotiation itself. First of all, keep in mind, negotiations are expected. Sure, it may seem challenging, maybe a little uncomfortable, but keep in mind that the recruiter or the hiring manager that you'll be having this conversation with has likely had a conversation just like the one you're about to have, maybe even multiple times that day. Second, don't negotiate just to negotiate. Yes, we suggest that all students consider it before you accept an offer. However, if you've been given a great offer that you're happy with and it compares to industry standards, then do not negotiate just for the sake of negotiation. Third, do not apologize. It can be tempting, especially because you feel like you're coming back and you're asking for something when you've already been offered something good. However, when you apologize, it insinuates that you're doing something wrong. If we revisit number 1, keep in mind there is absolutely nothing wrong with negotiating. Number 4, make sure you cover all items at one time. If you come back after you sign an offer and ask to negotiate other items inside your offer, like vacation time or flexible work schedule, that might be a little bit awkward and you're much less likely to get those things. In person or on the phone is definitely preferred. Trying to navigate a negotiating conversation via email can not only be a little bit awkward, but it also allows both parties to have lots of time to think and come back with counter offers, and you're much more likely to hear a no. It's also very important to remain positive. Negotiating sometimes has a little bit of a negative connotation with it because you're challenging something that somebody has given you and asking for more, which for many of us can seem a little rude or just uncomfortable. However, if you remain positive and know that both of you are trying to come to an agreed upon conclusion, then remaining positive and remaining enthusiastic will definitely help you versus being negative and combative. It's also very important to arm yourself with facts. The more facts you have to back up what you're asking for, the more likely you are to provide a convincing argument. And last, it's very, very important to practice this conversation. This is likely the first time that you're having a conversation like this with a professional. So the more times you've practiced in front of a mirror in your car while you're driving with a friend or with a career counselor, the more confident that you're going to be, and the more confident you are, the more likely you are to get what you want. One of the first times you might experience a negotiations conversation is when you're negotiating a decision extension. This will happen when you're given an offer and a certain amount of time to make a decision about it, but you decide that it would be in your best interest to have a little more time to make that decision for various reasons. In this situation, it's important to first express gratitude, mention that you're still very interested in the position, explain your reasons for needing more time, and of course, be reasonable. We suggest no more than 2 weeks more than you were given the first time. This is a great time to mention that the UC Berkeley Career Center does have guidelines that we provide to all employers who work with us. That is that for all offers extended for summer internships or full-time employment, we require that employers should allow students until October 1st or a minimum of 2 weeks from the date of the written offer, whichever is later, for you to make a decision. Should you be given an offer that is less than that 2 weeks or before October 1st, we strongly suggest that you go to our website, the link provided in this video in the description. Send that website to the employer, letting them know that your career center does have guidelines, and more often than not, what we find is employers don't have a hard time complying with that requirement. Let's look at an example. Say you were just offered a position for a full-time role at a nonprofit organization called Inspire. Hi there, I'm excited to have received an offer to join Inspire. I believe this is an incredible fit for my background, my research experience at Cal, and a great place for me to launch my career in nonprofit management. Because this is an important decision for me, I would really like to be as thorough and deliberate in my decision as possible. I believe I will feel much more confident in my decision if I'm able to get back to you by Friday, March 22nd, instead of the originally agreed upon Monday, March 11th. Note the positivity, the gratitude, the reasons, and the specific ask for a date. Now let's talk salary negotiations. The following are a couple quick guidelines to consider before you enter into that negotiations conversation. First, try not to be the first to provide a salary number. Ideally, it's best if you let the actual company tell you what their number is or what their range is, and you can adjust accordingly. If you're forced to provide the initial number and it's lower than what they would have offered, then it's possible that they may then use that as an anchor and a place to work from, and you won't end up getting to the number that they would have originally offered. Second, be confident. The more confident you are, the more likely you are to convince the person you're working with that the negotiations you put on the table are worth considering. This is a big one. Show enthusiasm. It can be easy to walk into a negotiations conversation feeling like you're about to walk into an argument or that you have to challenge or fight somebody. But actually, you're two people that are trying to work towards a common goal, and the more enthusiastic and positive you are, the more likely you are to get what you want out of the situation. 4, state clear expectations. Walk in being confident, knowing the parameters upon which you are negotiating. Know your high, know your low, know the things you're willing to wiggle on and the things that you're definitely not. And make sure that those are set in stone, written down, and you're ready to defend them. In that note, it's important to also give specific examples as to A, why you believe that you deserve a higher salary, more vacation time, flexible hours, etc. And lastly, ask open-ended questions. It's better to say, what do you think, than asking a yes or no question, which allows them to very easily say no. Now let's look at an example given the same situation in which you've been offered a full-time position at a company called Inspire. So you call up your recruiter and this is what you might say. First of all, thank you so much for the offer you gave me last week. Throughout my interview process, I became consistently convinced that Inspire would be a great place to start my career. However, the base salary is quite a bit lower than I expected. Given my experience managing budgets, analyzing large data sets, and leading teams in the nonprofit sector, as well as my research on market rates for San Francisco, I would be much more confident signing today if we could discuss a range of $50,000 to $55,000. Can you share your thoughts on your organization's ability to manage this? Notice that I remained positive and enthusiastic, showed my interest in the position, gave exact examples of the value that I actually bring, and let them know my clear expectations and ended with an open-ended question. Obviously, this is going to be unique to your own situation, and this is just an example. Now that you've had the conversation, here are the possible responses that you might get from the recruiter or hiring manager. 1, you're awarded your full request. Congrats! That's everybody's ideal situation. Good for you. Number 2, an adjusted compensation package that's somewhere between their original offer and your request, so you each gave and pulled a little. Keep in mind that market trends, your value, and the lowest you're willing to go are very important. You need to know the point at which you're willing to walk away. If the number is below it, be prepared to counteroffer or politely let them know that you weren't able to reach a place in which you were confident enough in the position to accept. The third possibility is a statement that their original offer is the best they can do. I will be very honest. Working with lots of college students and many employers, I have worked with a number of companies who simply do not negotiate with new grads or specifically interns. If that's the case, keep in mind, again, some companies just simply do not negotiate salary with entry-level candidates, and be prepared to discuss what else can be negotiated to increase the compensation package. For instance, can they offer you moving expenses, tuition reimbursement for a master's program, maybe a more flexible work schedule, more vacation, things like that. Now that you've stated your case and gotten a response, it's time to make your final decision as to whether you're going to accept or decline the offer. If you decide to accept, congratulations, everyone wins. This is a really fun day. You're going to be asked to sign the offer either in person or digitally. You want to make sure that you line up all of the next steps, including your first day, any pre-work that's expected of you, any meetings or communication, or forms that need to be filled out. You'll also be expected to rescind all other offers as soon as possible and stop recruiting. Even if you've only had a phone interview or an email correspondence, it's important to let those companies know that you're no longer available to be recruited. When you've accepted an offer, this offer is a serious commitment. The company lets all other candidates know they haven't been chosen, and then they go through the process of closing the position. Should you renege on an offer that you previously accepted, not only are you risking your own reputation, you're also costing that company a significant amount of time and money, taking away a position that could have been given to one of your peers, and risking the reputation of UC Berkeley. Should you decide to decline a position, remember that's totally okay and it's part of the process. But here are some guidelines. First of all, it's possible that in the recruiting process, you might have experienced being ghosted by an employer. It might be tempting to do the same thing, but we strongly suggest that instead you show the company the respect of letting them know that you will be politely bowing out of the race. It's important to do this in a timely manner. Don't stretch it out for weeks or months. This keeps them from being able to open up the position and make an offer to one of your peers. You want to thank them, acknowledge their time, and possibly share your reasons. This concludes our three-part video series on evaluating and negotiating job offers. For more information on how to negotiate job offers or other things related to your career or job search, follow us on social media at CalCareerCenter, and we hope to see you in the office soon.